I tell people, do not take a DNA test unless you're willing to be surprised at the results. Don't do it, because you may end up finding that your dad's not your dad or your brother's only your half brother. Having said that, though, I do encourage people always to do it, because I think if you have a sense of where you came from, that in itself is incredibly healing. And I truly believe that the more you work with the ancestors, really what you learn is who you are. It's really more about who you are than anything else, because it is incredibly healing. To work with it, and I just have to say this really quick. One of the ancestors who comes in most often for people is a grandmother figure or a great grandmother figure. So there is something in that healing energy of the granny energy that comes through a lot. And I think it's like the first step of the person who's had the bad family of origin experience. Grandma was the safety valve. Grandma's house was where they were safe. And I think that's why grandmas come through so often. It's very interesting, but it is healing. It's healing. People can reconnect to family.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned that about grandmothers, because I've had, the same experience where if you're the people that you knew, your family of origin, the people who were alive and part of your actual upbringing, if they were really broken or dysfunctional or whatever, it can be kind of hard to even comprehend what a granny would be like, the lady who would sit you on her knee and make cookies and pat you and
Right.
sing nursery rhymes. So yeah, I think that the great granny energy is a really good. Now, if we're pulling tarot cards, which one of the cards do you think would most correspond with this granny energy that we're talking about?
Probably the Queen of Cups,
Mhm.
because she's really the one that you can go cry on her shoulder.
Mhm.
And the Queen of Pentacles will fix you a healthy meal and give you a bed, but the Queen of Cups can emotionally connect with you, because she is the queen of emotions. She's the queen of water. Um, Definitely that would be that for me.
Yeah. So then, what about the idea of pulling a significator card to signify yourself? Do you
Yeah,
recommend doing that?
I do. If you're doing that chart, um, that you're pulling a card for each person, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, etc. I always suggest that you start with pulling a court card for yourself. And I will say that court card for you is not going to be the same court card for you 6 months from now as you do this work, because this is you relative to that family line. And over time, as you do ancestral healing, you're going to change. You may be the combatant Knight of Swords, and you may end up being, a very soft queen or even a page. And I will say, back in the day, we assigned gender and hair color and eye color and age to the court cards. And that's really not workable anymore, because we deal with so many genders and how people self-identify. So, back in the day, the Queen of Pentacles could have been, a mature, dark-haired woman. And today it could be your favorite uncle, just because he has the energy of the Queen of Pentacles. He's the guy who cooks you burgers on the grill or something. So yeah, it's very changeable how we look at court cards. Thank goodness, because I think that whole thing of, oh, it's the older blonde-haired lady, that makes no sense in our culture.
Right. Now, I wonder too about, again, people who may not have the meanings memorized. Do you find that it's helpful to, if you're doing a spread, to actually have a reference book to look them up, or do you prefer to just divine into the images?
I think both. I think having the reference book will help you, if nothing more than to understand that the suits are associated with the elements. So if I see a family line that's all wands, which is fire, I want to know, I want to have that reference book to tell me, what is that fire? What's that mean? Does that mean they were, they set fires, or does that mean, and we know as well, I know you're learning as a tarot person, wands are the suit of action. So it would be a family line of people who love to do stuff, who were out there, they were on fire, but they also could be super reckless. Fire can be dangerous. Fire can really burn you or burn your house down. But we're drawn to fire. It's warm, it's compelling. We love sitting around a fire. So if you know the suits, at least what element they represent, I think that gives you a huge clue.
If you don't mind, then go ahead and tell us the other 3 suits.
Oh, sure. So the cups are the water suit, and they are the suit of emotion. So if you have a lot of water people, you know that they are much more emotional people. Pentacles are earth people. And when I do my own family, I have my mom's family line are almost all pentacle people. And just because I know a little bit about them, I know, and by the way, the pentacles and earth all have to do with the physical. Land, your home, your body, your money. It's always a very physical thing. And I happen to know that all those pentacle people, money was a real issue. So in a very negative way. And it showed that all I got were pentacles. And so swords is the last, and it's air, and it has to do with our minds. And if you look at swords people in the cards, you'll always see signs of air. You'll see birds or butterflies, and it may be butterflies on the queen's robes, or it may be birds in the background. It is the air suit, and it's people who live in their heads. It's people who are always the idea people. So if you just know those 4 elements, that takes you a long ways down the road to understanding the cards you're getting.
Thanks for listening. Check out Castle Gate, a novel based on my own ancestral healing journey, at lisabonis.com. In 1921, 4 men set off from Scotland to the United States. Will Garrock, his brother Pete, his son Willie, and his nephew Thomas, all coal miners. They left behind the miners' rows and the nationwide mining strike with its soup kitchens. Their destination was Castlegate, Utah, where they had kin to welcome them before sending for their wives and children. They prospered in America, working in one of the finest mines in Utah. Until that tragic day, March 8th, 1924. Disaster struck. 3 explosions, trapping 171 men inside. Rescue crews worked tirelessly for days, but sadly, they could not save a soul. Women were widowed and children were orphaned, and some never recovered from their broken hearts. Castlegate is the true and tragic saga of a Scottish family whose dreams of finding their fortunes in the bountiful coal mines of Castlegate, Utah during the Prohibition era explode in one of the most devastating mine disasters in American history. Learn more at lisabonis.com.